William McCrea.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Some time ago there was a debate in this House. I had the opportunity of bringing forth a motion concerning suicide prevention. I acknowledged then, and I do so now, that the internet and social media are prominent features in the youth culture nowadays. Young people see the use of technology as a vital part of their social life, and online environment has created unique opportunities for their learning, for their connection, for their communication. Almost 99% of children throughout the United Kingdom aged between 8 and 17 have access to the internet. 90% of children aged 5 to 16 have a computer access. Therefore, as we accept social media being a reality in everyday life, yet we must also accept there is a growing concern over the use of the internet for cyberbullying. And whilst it may be impossible to remove completely online risk, yet we do have a duty to challenge the present unacceptable situation that leaves vulnerable young people and adults open to abuse and self-harm. We as legislators cannot sit on the sidelines until something happens that affects our homes, our families, and then we express horror and disbelief at the terrible consequences of a system that we allowed to operate. I wish to express appreciation, Madam Deputy Speaker, to the House Library for a very informative debate pack that has been prepared for today's debate. I know that many within our society must carry responsibility, and we've heard some of them named already, for the the responsibility of protection of our children. But I do believe that we must first of all start in the home, because there is parental responsibility. Parents cannot shun their responsibility to provide a safe environment for their own children. Quite often they provide the availability to the technology, and then some of them walk away from any further responsibility. And by so doing, many parents inadvertently expose their children to cyberbullying and inappropriate online behaviour because they do not exercise that parental control. Many of them set up the social network account without any understanding for the need of online safety. Many have little or no knowledge of how they should or could protect their children online. But parents do not stand alone in carrying the burden of responsibility. Society must have its portion of responsibility. We have heard about the teachers' responsibility. And also this Parliament in particular have responsibilities that we all must shoulder. Madam Deputy Speaker, the figures for online bullying is staggering. The Independent paper on October the 2nd, 2012 stated that more than a million young people are subjected to extreme online bullying every day in Britain. The explosion of social networking sites means that 7 out of 10 13 to 22-year-olds have been cyberbullied, according to the national anti-bullying charity Ditch the Label. The growing problem now affects an estimated 5.43 million young people, with girls and boys equally likely to be targeted. Cyberbullying is now an everyday problem for today's children, and I believe it's of epidemic proportions. And to suggest that people should simply boycott websites that fail to tackle the problem, in my opinion, is far too simplistic. We as a society must not accept cyberbullying as a norm for the present or the future generation. Facebook is the most common place for cyberbullying to occur, with studies informing us that young people are twice as likely to be bullied there than any other social network. The Telegraph revealed in an article on the 18th of October 2013 that Facebook has unveiled plans which will allow millions of teenagers to give strangers access to their online profiles. And I quote, "The social media site is changing its rules so that accounts set up by youngsters aged 13 to 17 will no longer have an automatic privacy setting which prevents their status updates, their photographs, their videos being publicly available. Until now, teenage Facebook users' profile have been visible to only their friends or their friends of friends." Mr. Speaker, or Madam Deputy Speaker, the truth also there is that quite often today's friend can no longer be your friend. That's right. In actual fact, today's friend, especially on social media, can become tomorrow's enemy. That's correct. And therefore, in my opinion, that leaves, under the new regulations, will leave hundreds of thousands of our very young people, children, exposed and vulnerable to predators and paedophiles. Many children have revealed their innermost thoughts to their friends online. In actual fact, they have revealed thoughts that they would never utter face to face. But because of this restricted world, as they thought, of their friends on the internet, they have revealed their innermost thoughts. Now, much of this can be shared in the public domain, but that will not be without serious consequences. Do these providers have no conscience and feel that they have no responsibility when a young person is haunted by what they perceived was a very private statement made, now public, and then at the end of it, several of them take their own lives? John Carr, Secretary of the Children's Charities Coalition, accuses Facebook of arrogance and stated, "You get the impression that power breeds arrogance." Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe that this is not a subject for glib comments, because I believe it's one of the very serious subjects that could ever be brought before this House. We must therefore help our young people. Liam Hackett, who founded the anti-bullying charity Ditch the Label, rightly pointed out that historically bullying went on in the classroom, and the Minister did touch on this when he was speaking. But today's bullying does not stop there, because in actual fact the bullying in the classroom, which was also repugnant and must be utterly condemned, but it stopped when the child arrived home. But for many children today, there is no escape for them, because not only is there the bullying in the classroom, but it follows them right to their own home, and many of them to their own bedroom. Yes, I'm happy to give way.
Thank you for giving way. Would you agree with me that it somehow goes actually beyond that? Because people, I don't know why, feel able to say things that are far worse on through that sphere than they would actually say to someone's face or in front of somebody else. It is a strange thing, but they feel able to do that.
Well, of course, the anonymity will allow that to happen. And the reality is that, as I said, many of the young people who were online, they would have said things out of their heart which perhaps at that moment they were thinking, but they believed it was to their friends. They wouldn't have opened their heart to say things if they believed that it was going to be spread. And equally then the other way, through this media, there are those who say things that they would never say to a person face to face. And that is the seriousness of this situation. Surely no one can be immune to the tragedy that often follows. The social media that is often the tool of today's modern bullying. When a young person is most vulnerable to the feeling of worthlessness, and as that bullying continues, even in their own bedroom, on that social media site, not only worthlessness, but the loneliness of that.
Absolutely.
And then following from that loneliness, the hopelessness of it. Because it seems that media then, at that moment, takes a step further. Because it's that same media, after it has carried that person to the point of hopelessness, worthlessness, and loneliness, then it also provides them information and techniques to increase the attempt or the chance of suicide attempts being successful, and decreases the chance of a young person receiving help. At that moment of their vulnerability, when they're at the lowest point of their life, then to be shown how they could end it all, and how they should end it all, because they are worthless, because they're nothing. And the person who's speaking to them on the other end and communicating that they are nothing, and that they mean nothing to anybody. I suggest that every member of this House today would do well to spend a quiet time reading the notes that the library has provided for us. The stories of young people, and many of us as members of Parliament have experienced this in our own constituency offices. The stories of young people caught in the trap of cyberbullying. And they're too scared to say or do anything. Thousands of them targeted by internet blackmailers, sadistic abusers, who operate in the dark recesses of a computer or online chat room, ready to make their innocent victim a slave. Dr. Ellie Farmer, a clinical psychologist, said, "There is a desire for power and control and getting a kick out of causing as much pain as possible." How sick can a person be? But the sad reality is, Madam Deputy Speaker, those sick people are out there, and our young people are vulnerable to them. Not one of us are immune from the vicious and cruelty of these vipers. Surely when abusive messages like those received by the 14-year-old girl found dead, after she received a series of messages telling her to drink bleach, go get cancer, go die, surely there is technology that exposes the identity of these evil persons from whom the messages emanate. The internet providers have failed and are continuing to fail our young people. And that is why I believe, as the motion suggests, that government must act to provide legal protection. And when government does so, then the courts must show their responsibility and ensure those who are responsible for cyberbullying will face lengthy prison sentences. Madam Deputy Speaker, the subject that we are dealing with today is a subject that can cost a person's life. Therefore, to do nothing, to do little, or only do something will not satisfy our conscience. And that's why I suggest that, having read the document that has been provided for us, having listened to the speeches here today, it would do good for every one of us in the stillness and the silence of our own hearts to ask this question. What more can we do? And the government, what more can government do to protect our children?